Awesome. Well, hi everyone. My name is Alexis Eaglin, and I am a certified trainer here on the Simple Strat team. I'm really just here to help open the stage and welcome you guys to our webinar. So today we've got our HubSpot updates for August 2025, kind of the inbound special edition. All right, so this new and now series is really designed to just help you keep up to date with everything that's going on in HubSpot with the, like we said, hundreds of updates that are coming out. What is actually, useful for you? What can you take action on? What's really going to drive results in your portal right now? So we're hoping to give you guys some really great use cases that you can go and execute on right away. All right, so we've got tons of stuff coming up. So if you've been poking around HubSpot, you've probably already seen some changes that are happening, but there is going to be lots of new visuals for everything from marketing tools to even just how you view the index pages and all the different new tools that you're going to be able to have right there at a click of a button. You're also going to notice AI is everywhere. Every corner of HubSpot has some sort of AI plugged into it, but you can actually use it for a lot more practical use cases. So we'll be diving into those today, and lots of just new efficiency tools when it comes to helping your sales team out and getting them, whether it's like prepared for meetings, post meetings, and all that good stuff. All right, if this is your first time joining, welcome. Hope you stick around and decide to come to all of our future events because we do host these every single month. But we will have the Q&A open so that you can ask questions at any time. So feel free to just jot them in. If there's quick stuff, I'll usually just kind of chat you back. Otherwise, we'll have a segment at the end to go ahead and get those answered. This is recorded, so you will receive a copy of the slides as well as the video in the next day or two or so after the webinar, and they'll also be posted on our HubSpot Hacks YouTube channel within a couple of weeks. And there's going to be a ton of updates. So you might be on starter level or maybe you're on pro, but this is like an enterprise level feature. Still kind of follow along and keep track of those updates because some of these might just be exactly what your business needs for the, justifying the reason for those upgrades. So definitely feel free to again ask questions and see if those things are applicable for you. And if you haven't heard of us before, Simple Strat is a diamond level solutions partner, so we help you get the most out of HubSpot. Whether you are considering HubSpot for the first time or considering upgrading, we can help you with purchase assistance and ask any questions to make sure you are truly getting the tools that you need. We can also help you set up new features, so a lot of the stuff that we talk about today, we also implement for our clients, so we are your go-to people when it comes to helping you out with that. Or maybe you are a new admin and you've inherited a HubSpot portal and you have no idea what to do with it and you need some help fixing some things and getting things cleaned up. We're happy to help out with those things. So you can always check us out at simplestrat.com/consult to learn more. All right, so with that, we are going to get started. I'm going to kick things over to Tyler here. He is our newly appointed CEO of Simple Strat, so also feel free to drop that in the chat and give him some congratulations. But he'll be taking us through the updates today.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexis. As she mentioned, we have so much. Inbound is always a crazy time for HubSpot updates, but this year was something special. I've been, I don't know, six, seven, eight inbounds. It's never been quite like this. There are a lot of updates. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna cover, there was about 230 or so update announcements in the last month. We're gonna cover about 37, 38 of them. The goal here is really to help you understand, a lot of things get talked about at inbound. Not everything is live yet. And so to help you understand, like, okay, what's live? What can I use today? What's maybe in beta that I need to request access for? And what license is required? Do I need to upgrade? Do I have access to it today? So that's gonna be one of the things, helping clarify that a little bit, help you cut through those 230 and figure out what's going to be the most impactful. And then also getting some ideas for use cases for these. How do we actually use these to get value, for our company? So that's the goal. We do have a lot, so we'll be talking quickly. I'm known for talking fast in these, and we'll be talking probably even faster today. We will have some Q&A at the end, and we will send out the recording and the slides. So without further ado, let's get into it. I know we've got a lot of new folks with us today, so a couple things about what you're going to see on the slides. So in the top left corner here, you're going to see the name of the update. We try to use the exact same name that's in HubSpot's product updates. So if you need to go enroll for a beta, try to find some new information. If you search for the name that we have on our slide, that should be the easiest way to find it. The status, so it's either going to be live, which means you have access to it today, public beta, which means you need to enroll in the beta, but anybody can do it, or private beta, which means you need to request access for the beta and HubSpot will need to approve it. And they'll look at things based on your usage and things like that to see if you'd be a good fit for that private beta. Then we'll talk about the hubs that it's available for. So is this marketing hub, sales hub, service hub, and then what tiers is available: starter, professional, enterprise, everybody. So that's what you're going to see on the left-hand side here. I mentioned I'll be talking quickly. There will be a few things, a few places that you can go to get more information in addition to the recording and the slides we'll send out afterwards. Inside of your HubSpot, you can go click on your company name and click on product updates. You can search the name of the update and find more information there. And then we also, of course, have our HubSpot Hacks YouTube channel, all kinds of tutorial videos. So if you're not subscribed to that, definitely recommend checking that out. A lot of these updates and more specifically use cases for them will make it into tutorials on that channel. So let's get into our updates. We break our updates up by hub, but a lot of these updates are across all of the hubs. So we're going to start with our updates that are applicable for all hubs. So the first thing here is a new look and feel. So HubSpots, you may have already seen this in your portal if you've switched this on. You do have to actively switch it on. But HubSpot has rolled out a new UI. They haven't moved too much stuff around. This really is just about kind of fonts and colors. Really the goal here, their primary goal was to make it more accessible. So they looked at some accessibility standards and just want to make sure that, regardless of any disabilities or anything, that you're able to use the system. So that's one goal. Another goal is just simplification and consistency. So as you navigate the tool, they want to have a more consistent look and feel. And then they did build this in a way that kind of paves the way for things to come in the future. So dark mode, for example, is one of the things that was mentioned in the release as something that this is a step in the direction of being able to enable. So I guess to enable that, to click on your company name, and then you will see right there under theme. If you're not seeing this today, you'll see a button to switch over to that. If you're seeing the old theme, you'll see a button to switch back to classic if you happen to get into it and not like it. Although I will say this is definitely where they're headed, so I would just get used to it. You will see some screenshots from the old theme and from the new theme as a symbol of being in this in the middle of this transition here. All right, let's get to some updates that actually affect functionality. So one is going to be, this is a big one, and it's going to be one that if you're on LinkedIn and the HubSpot ecosystem, you'll see a lot of people kind of like, what is this? So lists are renamed segments. It's going to take a lot of getting used to. For the most part, lists haven't changed. They are just a new name. So it's now called segments. It has already, you probably already seen this in your portal. Everywhere you've seen lists now refers to segments. So if you're looking for workflow triggers or things like that, reports, and you're looking for list membership, it's now segment membership. So that is changed. One thing that is a change in functionality here that it's in private beta right now is the ability to build segments off of anonymous website visitors. So that's kind of a big change that they're rolling out with this. We're going to talk about some use cases for that when we talk about the personalization options here in a little bit. But big change there that takes some getting used to for sure. One thing I will say about there's one additional thing about segments. So if you are a marketing enterprise customer, they've also rolled out a lot more AI functionality in terms of recommending segments to you based on different things in your portal, based on industry standards, based on best practices. So AI recommended lists that you can pull from if you are a marketing enterprise customer. So that is as Alexis mentioned, there's AI everywhere, and of course they built in some more AI into our segments here. Reimagined and unified marketplace. So what HubSpot did here is they took the relatively disjointed marketplace where you go to a solutions directory to find solutions partners, you go to an app marketplace to find themes and modules, or to find integration apps, and you go to the theme marketplace to find themes and modules. So now they just put that all in one. And in doing that, they also turned on some AI features, of course, to help you search for things. One search bar is going to search across all of those apps, theme templates, solutions partners, and It also has AI generated recommendations based on how you're using it, based on other apps you may have integrated. But the big thing here is in doing this and coinciding with that combination of different things that you can purchase, they've also enabled agents and assistants. So you can now go to the marketplace to purchase or install agents or assistants. Today they're all free. So some of them do use HubSpot credits, but it doesn't cost money to go and like buy an agent. There will be a future where there likely will be agents available in the marketplace for sale from other builders, but today it's only HubSpot built agents and assistants, but they launched with quite a few. So the next two slides here are going to be just a quick overview, and there's a lot of text on the screen. They've launched with I think 20. The combination of agents and assistants is 20. Most of them are agents. They've got a few assistants. Assistants are things that you can chat with in HubSpot's. Used to be Copilots, now it's Assistant. So their AI chatbot built into HubSpot. Assistants are like a very tailored way to have conversations with that. And agents do things for you in the platform. So just a couple agents that I wanted to call out here. So customer health agent, I saw this demoed at Inbound. This was pretty cool. This is, when a company reaches a specific threshold for a health score, like they get below a certain amount, trigger some things to happen. So trigger some summaries of their engagement, trigger some notifications. So nice way to stay on top of things that companies that may churn. This customer handoff agent is also really cool. So you can have this be triggered when deals move to closed won, for example, have a nice summary put together for whoever that's being handed off to for onboarding and things like that. This is one that I would tell you that we are going to be putting in place in Simple Strat right away because we have, it gets passed over from sales to our HubSpot solutions consultants. And this will just streamline that process that we already have quite a bit and have that be enabled by AI. Another whole 10 assistants here. So a couple call outs on this page. The sales to marketing feedback agent. I haven't actually got a chance to play with this one. There's so many updates I haven't had a chance to play with a lot, but this one stood out to me. Sales loves to give feedback to marketing about the leads that they're getting. So let's use an agent to make sure that that feedback is helpful. And the sales coach assistant. So AI reviewing call transcripts by your sales reps and actually surfacing coaching and recommendations based on how those calls are going. So lots of awesome agents here to roll out with, and can't wait to see even more of these agents come out and the ability for custom agents from other people to be surfaced in this marketplace. Not there yet, but I think that'll be coming very quickly. All right, Breeze Studio. So Breeze Studio is if I go and get an agent from the marketplace, Breeze Studio is where you can add customization to how those agents work. So you don't have to just have, a predefined agent from HubSpot and only do it the way that HubSpot's gave it to you. You can now tailor it for however your business operates. And so some examples here for this, you can do things like talk about that handoff agent. So by default, it's not automatically triggered. It has to be manually triggered. So you can go in there and add an automatic trigger for when deals move to closed won, for example, like what I mentioned earlier. You can customize recap emails. So there's a call recap agent that gives you a call summary and surfaces a draft for a call recap email that you can send to the person that you had the call with. So if you want to customize that, maybe most of your calls are sales calls and you want to customize, what is in that, or maybe most of your calls are client calls. And so it's going to be more about kind of client status and the status of what you're doing with those clients. You can tailor that to what you need. So the sales coach agent, maybe your team, they do great for a lot of things, but there's a common place where they get held up in sales calls, and you want to add some specific a prompt that specifically looks out for that and transcripts and coaches on that thing specifically. You could add that context to the sales coaching agent to make sure that it's the most helpful for your team. Add full terms of service documentation, as an additional knowledge source for the closing agent. So the closing agent, we're going to talk about HubSpot's new quote tool here at the very end today, their CPQ tool. The closing agent is a chatbot specifically for that tool. So when a customer looks at that quote, they can ask questions about terms, about products, about pricing directly in there and get live answers without having to wait for back and forth for sales for quick questions. So you can add additional documentation that's not found on that quote that's unique to your company into that agent. So lots of ways to tailor these. Also in Breeze Studio, you can create custom assistants. So I mentioned that the agents and the assistants in the marketplace are all HubSpot built, and you can't build your own agents in HubSpot yet, but you can build your own assistants. And so again, assistants are when you go into HubSpot's. Sorry, I'm getting used to all the new names. The HubSpot used to be called Copilot, and now is called the Breeze Assistant, and do your chat there. A Breeze Assistant, a custom assistant, allows you to customize that, tailor a chat experience for a specific purpose, for a specific need that's based on your prompt and any context you provided. So any knowledge sources or documentation that you provided. So some use cases for this, there are a lot of use cases, and I was talking to a lot of people at Inbound that are really excited about this. Things like sales objection handling. So you can put in documentation. Sorry if you can hear the very loud truck that is outside my open window. Sales objection handling assistant. So if your salespeople are commonly getting these, a few objections, and you've got pretty good ways to overcome those objections, you could load that into a sales objection assistant, and your sales reps could actually chat, get live guidance for specific objections while they're on a call right inside of HubSpot. Product knowledge assistant. So if the same thing, if your sales reps want to be asking questions about products, or if a customer support rep wants to be asking questions about products and have that chat right there while they're on the phone with a customer replying to emails. An onboarding assistant for new hires. So helping a new hire get up to speed with your HubSpot platform and any other platforms or information you want to provide to new employees. They can have a nice little resource that they can just chat right there in HubSpot to get some guidance there. A sequence writing assistant. So we have a lot of customers that really want to start using sales sequences, or we've got, maybe the company is not fully on board, but a couple sales reps are really wanting to start using more sales sequences, email sequences inside of HubSpot. And the question then is, what do we say? They're usually pretty good about drafting that first email, and the follow-up emails look like, we're just checking in, how are things going? And it's just like the same email 5 times. So you could kind of tailor an assistant, help your reps write better sequences right inside of HubSpot again. And then compliant copywriting assistant. So maybe you've got a whole bunch of rules that your copywriters need to follow when they're writing ad copy, social copy, things like that. And you want to give them a nice quick reference to those rules. So as they're creating content in HubSpot, they have a quick question about whether something is compliant or whether they need to include something. They can use that assistant right there. So, and we could probably give a whole webinar on agents and assistants. So I know I went through that very quickly, but hopefully that gets the wheels turning on some ideas there. So we're going to move off of AI for just a little bit because there is lots of non-AI features as well. And this is about as non-AI as it gets. We'll get just back to the old index views. So for a long time, our index views, this is the place where we see all of our contacts, all of our companies, or a filtered view of those contacts and companies, tickets, deals, any object in HubSpot. It's been a list view that we can edit columns for a very long time, except for our tickets and deals, we could have a board view. Now that is much, much more flexible. So we can now have board views for all different types of records. So it's not just deals and tickets and custom objects, now contacts, companies, we can have board views for. And those board views don't just have to be for pipeline stages. So we'll talk about some use cases in just a second for other ways to use those board views. We also can view our records on a calendar view. We can do just quick toggle and see a report of the records that we have filtered in our index view. And also now we have a map view. The map is in private beta, but the other ones are already available for us in public beta. And then for the project object, which we're going to talk and hear about more in just a second, we also have a Gantt chart view. So lots of different ways for quick toggle, this nice little drop down where we can change how we're viewing our records. So much, much more flexible. So some use cases for this. This is that map view that's in private beta. So our board view, we can view contacts assigned to a specific rep. So a rep can go in and view their contacts and see a board view of contacts by their lead status, for example. Or we can do deals organized by assigned rep. So Rather than seeing just pipeline stages, we can see all of our deals and who's assigned to who. So great for a sales manager to either shuffle things around or see in a very visual way. Maybe one rep has a whole lot of deals assigned to them and somebody else is lacking, or you can do the same thing on tickets or services from a customer success standpoint. Our calendar view, so we can look at that for whether we're using a ticket object or service object for tracking onboardings for new customers. We can display that by launch date, so we can see very quickly, when do we need to have this onboarding done by for all of those different onboardings we're going through. Calendar view, for using those appointments object, or we've got quite a few clients that have an events custom object. We can see those on a nice calendar now. And then, of course, our map view, we can do this to see, things like companies assigned in a territory. We can display that by address, or see kind of what our reach is across the country or globe from our customers. So lots of different ways to use that map view as well. All right, smart insights. So I mentioned we get away from AI for just a second, but of course, HubSpot had to inject some AI into these new indexes. This is a private beta, but what they've done is just given us a nice little breeze button in the top left-hand corner. And when we click on that, it's going to give us a few things. So we can click on a few different prompts here. Smart Digest is going to give us an AI-powered summary of the records that we're looking at with whatever filter we have set for that index view. Smart properties, so we can create smart properties. It's now called data agent, but smart properties or data agent basically is we put an AI prompt and HubSpot is going to use that prompt. It can search the web or it can search different things in your CRM to populate a field, a property. And so we can create that directly from here. And then there's going to be one-click recommended filters. So, a lot of times when we're trying to filter different contacts, companies, deals, we're changing quite a few different filters. This is going to give us filter recommendations based on what's commonly used, and then, of course, based on how you use HubSpot. So there's some quick actions there powered by AI. Okay, I mentioned this earlier, teased this a bit. So we do have a brand new object in HubSpot. This is a default object, so it's found in the object library of your settings. Same place that you would find your appointments, courses, listings, services. It is available to everybody. And what I will say is that this is a step in the direction for HubSpot to be able to do some project management. It's a small step. So what it has today is has a project object. So it's giving you that new object you can use. You don't have to have enterprise and add it as a custom object. It's giving us a new view, so we can see those projects in a Gantt chart view, and we can very quickly change start and end dates on that view. We can also view, manage, delete tasks directly from this view, and arrange them by projects. There is some other project management functionality this doesn't have. So there are no subtasks, there's no time tracking. So if you're already using like a ClickUp or an Asana or things like that, probably not time yet to move into HubSpot. But if you're not using anything for project management, you have some basic projects that you want to manage, or you have some basic projects that would be easier to manage in HubSpot than that project management because maybe they're projects for your sales team or your marketing team for simple campaigns. This can be a nice way to bring that into the platform where they're already working. This one is going to be one that doesn't have a ton of implication right now for users, but it will. So HubSpot announced the ability for app partners, for anybody that builds an integration with HubSpot's, PandaDoc, Quote Happily, any integration with HubSpot. Up until now, for you to interact with an app in HubSpot, one thing would be pumping data, but if you wanted to do anything with that app within HubSpot, pretty much the only thing that was available to you was go into an individual contact or company record, find the card in the middle pane or the right-hand side, and then do some things in the app for that record. What HubSpot is giving app partners now is a full page experience, so they can develop anything that they want to in a full page experience. So you're no longer having to go into an individual record to use an app within HubSpot. So what we can expect for this is we can expect that a lot of those app partners, we can do a lot more with that software without ever having to leave the HubSpot platform. So excited to see what this brings. Still early days. It'll be kind of up to the app partners to really leverage this and use this. And I'm sure we'll have some people the leading the edge on that pack, and then some people that aren't quite as early adopters. But excited to see what this brings. Data enrichment. So this one is huge. So for people that have been using HubSpot for a long time, you know that HubSpot, one of the things that we used to love about HubSpot was HubSpot Insights. We would add a contact, the company would be created automatically, and we see a whole bunch of fields populate from that company. And then they rolled out, they bought Clearbits, and then they rolled out this idea that you would now have to pay to enrich your contacts and companies. The good news about that was it was based on much, much more up-to-date data. The data was updated more frequently, it was more accurate, it was a larger database. The downside was you had to pay for it. Now that's going away. So we are going back to free enrichment as long as you have a paid HubSpot account. So starter, professional, enterprise on any level, you can enrich for free. So it's going to be the same properties that were in Breeze Enrichment. So it's not going to give you, it's still not a place where you can go find phone numbers and email address. But if you're looking for job titles, company address, company size, all kinds of company information, and a decent amount of contact information, LinkedIn profile. All of that stuff is now available for free. You do have some settings to control that, so you can enrich everybody. You can enrich people on certain segments. You can enrich people that based on a workflow. So you really can control, but it's free, so you might as well do it for everybody now. But there are some controls if for whatever reason you don't want to do it for everybody. So always happy to hear things getting less expensive. Also, with our enrichments, we now have conversational enrichment. So this is actually two different types of enrichment. So one is from transcripts. So HubSpot will look at your call and meeting transcripts, those recordings, and it will enrich your CRM based on the data that it finds there. So it's going to do things like, hey, there was a person in this meeting that's not in your CRM. Let's go ahead and add them. A job title was mentioned, or a revenue amount was mentioned in this meeting. We're going to go ahead and update those fields on the contact or company based on that. So they haven't given us a full list of what all they enrich yet. I think it's a growing list. The transcript enrichment is enterprise. As of today, it does not use any credits. The email enrichment works very similarly. So if there's a contact CC that's not in your HubSpot, I can add it automatically. If there's information in an email signature or just mentioned in an email that's company or contact data, it can automatically add that to the CRM for those contacts and companies. That one, while it's in beta, doesn't use any HubSpot credits. It will. They haven't said how many or anything like that yet. They just have said that it will cost credits in the future. And that's probably going to be pretty true for any AI feature. Their model that they're doing is they're rolling out the AI features. They're making sure that they're working well, that people are getting value in the beta or the early releases of those, and then they're monetizing it. So we saw that with Customer Agent, with Prospecting Agent. Breeze Enrichment went the other way with being able to enrich their properties, but most things are going to consume credits going forward. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're trying out AI features, dial it in, do your testing, roll it out, but keep in mind that if that works well for you and if that delivers value, there likely will be a cost associated for it in the future. So email enrichment, good for a lot of things. So you can do things like auto create tasks for return to office dates. So that's one of the things that it pulls out is if you get an out of office reply and it says when they're coming back, it'll actually populate that return date into a property in the contact. So you can use that to trigger a workflow or create a task for the salesperson to reach back out to them when they return. You can auto create a task for sales to identify a new person of contact for a point of contact for a job change detection. So that's another thing that the email enrichment does is it identifies when somebody has left a job based on bounces. Auto create tasks for sales to check in with the same POC, excuse me, 3 months after a job change detection. So, okay, I've identified that Bob's no longer at this company. HubSpot's populated that into a property. Let's go ahead and trigger a workflow to create a task for me to reach out to Bob on LinkedIn in 3 months, see where he's landed, and see if there might be any opportunity for us at that company. Adjust customer health score when a POC leaves. So, we've got a point of contact at this client. They've been our champion. They went through onboarding with us, and now all of a sudden we found out that they've left. We might want to adjust that customer health score because they might be a little bit more likely to churn. We might want to make sure we have some visibility into that. So lots of use cases there. So we've talked a lot about credits. And one of the things that's been honestly quite frustrating about credits up until now is the way they worked was the same way as marketing contacts. So if you used your allowance of Breeze credits, HubSpot would automatically upgrade you to the next tier. and you were locked into that tier until your renewal, which could be up to a year away. So even 2 or 3 years if you had a long-term contract. So they finally have given us the ability to have much more granular control about if we upgrade, how we upgrade. So where this lives, if you click on your company name in the very top hand corner and go to account and billing, what you're going to see is a usage and limits tab. I know I'm kind of using the screen, but you can't see that today. You can use a usage and limits tab, and then there's a link on there that says manage credit settings. When you click on that link, this is what you're going to see. So by default, it's set to auto upgrade. If you want to prevent auto upgrade, you can move this over to pay as you go. That would make it so that if you go over in a month, you only pay for the credits that you go over by. You're not upgraded a monthly tier that you're locked into for the rest of the contract. On the next screen, you can also cap things. So rather than automatically paying for extra or upgrading, if you hit a certain number of credits, HubSpot will cease any AI actions, and therefore you won't get any charges for this. This does only apply for folks that have purchased a credit add-on. So if you're just using the credits that are included in your contract, this isn't available for you. I don't think the auto upgrade applies in those situations. But based on my testing so far, and I've only been like 2 days post inbound, this only applies to folks that have that credit add-on. But if you have a credit add-on, I highly, highly recommend that you go in there and do this today so you don't get that surprise lock-in to an upgrade. All right, intent signals. So intent signals are just kind of an upgrade of what HubSpot's been doing for a little while. But basically what you can do is you can select companies that you want to track, and HubSpot's intent tool will detect signals for those companies that you're tracking, and they will appear as events on the company timeline. They can also be used to trigger workflows, segments, and lead scoring. You can put a top signals card on a company record, and they'll appear in the sales workspace on the prospects tab if you have sales professional. So the signals that they surface for you are visitor intent change based on their behavior on your website, research level change based on research that company is doing off your website, funding rounds that are public, technology investments they've made, geographical expansions, leadership content. So an executive at that company publishes some thought leadership content, layoffs they've done. There's a higher risk of email bounces, or if a contact at that company has started or ended a job for contacts associated with that company in your CRM. It does consume 10 credits, so this is one of the tools that is ready for prime time. It's already consuming credits. So for every company that you track, it costs 10 credits a month, is how that works. So 10 credits per month per company. So some use cases for this, again, I mentioned that those signals can be used in a lot of different places. So you can trigger a workflow to alert sales reps of new buying signals. You can build intent-based ad audiences. So you can create a segment that used to be called lists based on these, and then use that for your ad targeting. You can improve your lead scoring. So you can use these as elements in that lead score calculation that you build. Provide additional context to reps to personalize messaging, or trigger intent-based nurturing. So maybe there's a contact that's been kind of quiet for a while, they express an intent signal, and you want to start an automated nurture at that time. Another AI related update, but rather than giving you an AI tool, this is about telling you when your customers or prospects are using an AI tool. So HubSpot has now given us a new source. So in our original traffic source or latest traffic source properties, we've been used to the same options for a long time. Now HubSpot has released this AI referral. So we can see when somebody has come to our website based on their interactions with ChatGPT, Claude, any of the common LLMs. So I will say it's in private beta today. Once you enroll in this beta or get access to this beta, it's only going to track this going forward. So if somebody found your website because of ChatGPT in May, it's still going to have whatever original traffic source it has now. But if a new contact finds your site based on an LLM in the future, that'll be an AI referral. So that's important to know. And then it will automatically show up in any of your analytics reporting as soon as you have data for that source. So there really is no action required here, except for one situation, which is fairly common. A lot of our clients, that's just highlighting that for you. A lot of our clients, a lot of people using HubSpot do have a custom source property that they maintain so that they can take all of HubSpot's online source information and match it with offline source information that they track through imports or manually, like events and things like that. In almost all cases, those companies are using HubSpot's default source properties to populate that custom source property when it can. So if it is an online source, then go ahead and set our custom source property. And so there's a lot of folks that have workflows like this where, if it says it's organic social, set our custom lead source property to organic social. If you have a workflow like this, if you have a custom source property that you're using HubSpot source properties to populate, you're probably going to want to go ahead and update that workflow to make room for the new AI referral source. We've also got some updates to our CRM association cards. These are the cards on the right-hand side or in the middle pane of a contact record, company record, where we can see associated records for, like, for example, in this example, we can see contacts associated to a company. So these are getting a major upgrade. We're getting a new search bar so we can search for, in this case, all contacts associated to that company. We also have new options for sorting, and it's much easier to sort. We can change that sort whenever we want to. Of course, we can save our sort preferences, so every time we come back, we can see that. And we also can see a lot more properties for our associated records. So we can now display the primary property. So like in this case, it's contact name, plus up to 5 additional secondary properties. So a lot easier to work with our associated records. Auto capture website clicks. So this is for our enterprise customers. This is HubSpot. It's a little bit technical. I'll be honest with you. It's a little bit kind of hard to wrap your mind around it. But once you do, it is pretty cool. So what HubSpot is going to do is for any website that has the HubSpot tracking code or for a HubSpot hosted website, HubSpot is going to automatically create what they're calling raw events for any meaningful clicks on your website. So a meaningful click is something that's like, somebody didn't just click on a white space. They clicked on a link or a button. So HubSpot's going to automatically create a list of all the things people are clicking on in your website. You can then review that list and say, okay, I'm seeing button clicks and link clicks. These are the ones that I care about. And so for that, you just very quick, it's like 2 clicks. You change it from a raw, what HubSpot calls a raw event to a verified event. And then you can use that in activity timelines, segments, workflows, lead scoring, reporting. And so basically it's giving you like the same level of tracking that you can get on like a CTA for anything that's clickable on your website. And you don't have to go and manually create custom events for all those things you want to track. HubSpot's going to create them, and then you just need to identify which ones you care about and mark them as verified. So some use cases for this. So you can do lead scoring based on high intent clicks. So if they're clicking on high intent buttons, up their lead score. Persona or target market segmentation based on what they clicked. So if you've got, on your homepage, different, you highlight different industries you work with and they click on one, you can then put them in a segment that indicates that they are likely in that industry, for example, or same thing with like your top navigation bar. Do the same thing with product interest. So what product pages have they clicked on in our top navigation bar? And maybe we can segment based on that. Trigger abandonment workflows. So they clicked on this button to request a demo or to book with sales, but they never actually did that thing. They never actually booked that meeting or filled out that form. You can now trigger sort of like a cart abandonment workflow. Identify the most popular buttons and navigation elements. So you can just look at, okay, what is all of HubSpot tracking of the verified events there, and you can build reports on that. So what are our most popular buttons or links on our website? And pretty easy to build a report once you have that data. And you can include clicks in your journey reports. So if you've got journey reports to see how people are flowing through your website and your buying journey, you can say if a click is really important in that journey, you can kind of see whether or not people are doing that or what people are doing before or after that. All right, I know we've already covered a lot, but we still have a lot more to go. So we've covered the majority of them. I guess we're about halfway through. So these ones are going to cover updates that are for multiple hubs. I'm going to speed up a little bit here. They're not available for all of the hubs, but they're available for more than one. And so this will be where you start wanting to pay attention to what hubs are listed on that left-hand side. So personalization, I mentioned we're going to cover some use cases for that segmentation. So lists are now segments, and personalization is how we can use segments to show people different content in CTAs or landing pages. It's a little bit different than smart content. This is different CTAs or different landing pages. So I'm going to show them landing page A for one thing. If they're in a different segment, I'm going to show them landing page B or the same kind of thing for CTAs. So what's great about this is every time I talk to somebody about a HubSpot website, they're very excited about the level of personalization they can do on that HubSpot website. What they're not always immediately, what they don't really know right away is that that personalization up to today really only worked for the contacts in your CRM that were cookied, that had their cookies turned on, that had filled out a form, booked a meeting. So there's a lot of traffic to your website that it wasn't personalized for. Now that we can do segments based on HubSpot's essentially their Clearbit acquisition, all that intent data, so HubSpot can know for a lot more of your traffic what company they came from, what industry that company is in, how big that company is. Now that we can build segments for anonymous website visitors based on that data, we now have a lot more personalization options. So what I mean by that, we can do things like create a landing page based on industry, even if that contact isn't in our CRM. We can give them a CTA based on their job role. So we can give a CTA that's maybe going to appeal more to a decision maker or a user of our product. We can give them a different landing page based on their company size. We can do CTAs based on other actions they've taken on our website. So if they've clicked these things before, or if they've looked at these pages before, I'm going to show them a CTA for this. So lots of different use cases here. Like I said, it is pretty early days. It is still in private beta. I'm interested to see if we're going to be able to do more with content within a page on this and have it expand beyond just landing pages and CTAs. But still, as it is right now, pretty powerful private beta. LLM custom workflow actions. So if you have an enterprise account, you can now connect an LLM of your choice. So you can connect your own ChatGPT account, your own Claude account, and use it in a workflow. So what this is going to do is this is going to allow you to have a lot more control. You can control costs because you can just use the API call and pay a cent rather than paying HubSpot for the AI usage. You pay through your subscription with whatever LLM you're using. And with that, with all of your workflow actions, so when you use it in a workflow, you can control what model you're using. So you can use the best model for whatever use case that workflow action is. And you can also control whether or not each individual workflow action can use web search or if it's just going to be based on the data that you provide in your prompt and in any property. So a lot more control than HubSpot's default AI actions in their workflows. So happy to see this expansion there. Process guides. So anybody that's been a fan of playbooks, you think you're going to love process guides. So process guides, as far as we know, playbooks aren't going anywhere, but process guides are essentially a level up from playbooks. So playbooks are relatively static. You can have some conditional elements in them, but they're pretty static. If you have a lot of conditional elements in your playbooks, it gets pretty unwieldy to manage. So process guides are similar to playbooks in that they allow you to create notes and populate properties, but they are much more dynamic. So if you do this, we're going to show you this section. Or if you do this, we're going to show you this other section. So it kind of walks you through in a much more step-by-step way. And because it's in private beta, I haven't actually had a chance to play with this yet, but it does appear that you can edit properties from process guides, even if you have professional only. So with playbooks, you can only edit properties. If you have enterprise, I do believe you can edit properties with professional in process guides. It's also easier to do things like create associated records from a process guide. So some use cases for this, you can display different scripts or instructions based on a buyer objection. So you're in a sales call, you've got a list of common buyer objections, sales rep selects one, and it populates a script that they can use to help overcome that objection. Guide reps through qualification framework like BANT while they're in their discovery. You can do a structured support call intake. So if you want to create a ticket in a very structured, very dynamic way that's a little bit more dynamic than just the create ticket form, you could use a process guide to go through that. Lead handoff guide. So maybe you're not ready to use the handoff agent, but you do want to have a more structured way for your sales reps to hand things over to customer success. You can do that with a process guide. Or same thing I mentioned about tickets. You could also do that for deals. So maybe you've got a lot of different dynamic options that people can select as they create a deal. You could use a process guide for creating that. This was another big update. This was getting all the hype prior to inbound. This one released a little bit earlier, and then we never heard about it at all at inbound, but I think it's still a big deal. So we can now build custom reports on form submissions. So if you know, you know. If you've ever tried to build a custom report to see form submission data, it just hasn't been there. It's been a huge gap in HubSpot for a long time. Now, if you have the ability to build custom reports, so professional enterprise, you can use form submissions as a data source. One thing that is a little bit confusing is it's actually three data sources that you want to add to your report. So you want to add forms, form submissions, and form analytics. Good chance you're going to want to pull properties from all three of those sources. So if you're wanting to report on forms, make sure you add all three of those sources. Once you have those sources in there, there's all kinds of different reports you can build. So of course, form submission count over time, form submissions over time broken out by form. So that's what this is here. Each form is a different color. Form submission count by a specific source or a specific property that they selected on the form. If you got a drop down in there, you can see, your number of form submissions by which option they selected. Form submissions by new versus existing contacts. Count of contacts created by a form. So which forms are creating most of our contacts for us, or submissions from contacts by life cycle stage. So, what are our customers versus our leads filling out, for example, and conversion rate for forms over time. So, how are our forms performing and how is that changing over time? Oh, got one more. Form submissions count by campaign. So, if you've got multiple forms and campaigns, you can see how those campaigns are doing in terms of generating submissions. Another long-awaited update is the Pathfinder and Customer Journey Analytics. So Customer Journey Analytics are a great way to build reports. The thing that has been not so great about them is you've had to define the path, and then it'll tell you how people flow through that. Pathfinder, now you say what your start criteria or your end criteria is. You give it some parameters like how many steps and what types of events you want it to include, and then it will actually tell you what things people did most commonly before that time or after that time, depending on how you have that set up. So nice way to kind of get some insight into how people are flowing through rather than having to define that path in the beginning. Another reporting update for us is this object property snapshot. So this sounds very technical, even when you get into like the knowledge base article and stuff, but it actually is very simple. For any HubSpot defined event, so form submission and ad interaction, when you pull that as a source into reports, you're going to see a couple new properties. And basically, it's going to be what lifecycle stage was the contact at when that event happened, and what lifecycle stage was their primary company at when that event happened. So the form submissions by lifecycle stage report that I just mentioned a couple slides ago, if you just build that before this, it would show you the lifecycle stage that that contact is in today, not necessarily when they fill out the form. With this, we can now say what life cycle stage were they when they filled out the form. So that's just one example. If you are doing custom events through the API, you can now you can have a lot more control. So rather than just having life cycle stage property kind of stamped with that event, you can select any property on the contact or primary company to stamp it with that event. So if you also want to look at I don't know, lead status or something like that at that time, you can do that rather than just life cycle stage. So I know we're flying through here. HubSpot released tons of updates, but they will be doing a ton more this month, I promise. So make sure that you check in. We do this every month. You can sign up for this one in the exact same place our next one in the exact same place you signed up for this one, simplestrat.com/webinars, and we'll make sure we cover all of September updates. Probably won't have to talk quite as fast in that one, but that will be a place where you can get all the next round of updates and some use cases for those as well. Okay, we're gonna get into our hub specific. I know we're nearing time here. There is a lot fewer hub specific updates. So one is going to be a new tool for managing your meetings in HubSpot. And this is for our sales reps and our service reps to manage meetings as they happen. Or sorry, this one is sales workers. So this one is sales reps. I do think this will roll out more widely though to service as well. So what this is going to give us is this is basically a new meeting record. So when we click on a meeting that's scheduled or that's happened, we're going to see a new thing. And so this page is going to have two tabs. There's an info and insights tab that's designed to help us prepare for meetings before they happen. So any internal notes we've saved on that meeting, prospect agent updates if the prospect agent is interacting with that contact, any pain points and tips that AI has pulled out of previous conversations and engagements, any recent web page visits that contact has had, and then their five most recent engagements with our company. The recording and transcript tab is designed for following up. So this is going to give us AI recommended next steps. We can also create manual tasks from that page. It's going to give us an AI meeting summary. This is also where we can find the full meeting recording and transcript. Power Dialer. This is another thing that people have been asking for from HubSpot for a long time. So Power Dialer, if you don't know, is where you can take a list of phone numbers and the tool calls them one at a time, but right after another. So it calls the first one, they don't answer, it leaves a recorded voicemail, calls another one right away. So this is powered by the contacts index page. You just open up a contact view, select the ones you want to add to the Power Dialer, click actions in the top right, add to Power Dialer. And then there's some settings that you can configure for your voicemail drop and your timing. This is only with HubSpot calling as of now. I don't know if they plan to build in any call integrations, but right now this uses HubSpot calling. And it is an enterprise only feature, so that is an important call out. Buying groups. This is also enterprise only. HubSpot recently purchased OrgChart Hub, which was a third-party app, and they've rolled it into the platform very, very quickly. So OrgChart Hub gives you two things. One is buying groups, which allows you to see in a visual way how the contacts are organized at a company. So what are their roles and who reports to who? Also gives you a heat map about which contacts are most engaged with your website, your sales activities, things like that. The other thing that it provides is account mapping. So it's a visualization of your parent and child companies. So some use cases for this, you can identify gaps in account penetration. So what buying roles don't we have covered? We can see who are our champions within an account based on that heat map of activity. We can visualize company division or location hierarchy with our account map. So parent-child companies get very confusing, especially if you got more than one layer. This gives us a nice visual of that. That's what that kind of dark screen looks like. Identify cross-sell opportunities with account maps so we can see those different divisions and see who are our customers and who aren't our customers so we can see cross-sell opportunities. And similarly, contract consolidation. So maybe a lot of them are our customers. Maybe there's an opportunity to roll them up under, one MSA or something like that. And also competitive risks. So, okay, we can see all these divisions of this company, and one of these divisions is working with a competitor. And now I can see two of these divisions working with a competitor. May want to get out in front of that. All right, our Content Hub, just one update to Content Hub, but it is a big one. So AEO strategy. So this is, we've been talking about SEO for a long time, showing up in search engines. HubSpot is now giving us some tools to be able to show up in those LLMs. So we mentioned that HubSpot will track that as a source. They're also giving us some tools to help us show up. So what it's going to do is it's going to make recommendations for how you can improve your existing content to better appear in those LLMs like ChatGPT questions, when Google rolls out their AI model, their AI mode for everybody, Claude. It also surfaces content gaps, so content that you don't have that maybe you should consider creating. And it will also show your brand sentiment analysis and how you show up. So are you even appearing in those ChatGPT searches? And how is what's the sentiment when ChatGPT talks about your company? Is it positive things? Is it negative things? So I'll be really interested to see how this works. Again, it is private beta, so very, very early days here. I do know that HubSpot's been using some of this for their own content strategies, and they say it's working well. So excited to see this one roll out more widely. Marketing Hub got a lot of love. I know, so if you do have to drop at the end, we're probably going to go over a couple minutes over. I will stick around and go over, answer any questions, but please do feel free to shoot us an email or reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to answer any questions if you do have to drop on the dot here at the bottom of the hour. But for now, we will keep on trucking. Now I know how Karen feels on the when she did the inbound spotlights about going through all of these updates. Okay, so we've got Marketing Studio. This, I think, might be the biggest update from inbound in terms of the update that's going to get the most people using it the fastest. So this is essentially an overhaul of campaigns. And basically what they're doing is they're giving us a much more visual way to build and manage campaigns. So I can tell you as soon as I saw this, right now when I create a campaign, I usually go create all the assets and then add them to a campaign. This now turns your campaign into like a home base that you can create all of your assets from. And it's much, much easier to see how all the pieces work together. It's also, of course, got AI built into it. So you can actually give it an AI prompt and it's going to create a lot of your original assets for you. And then you can also, if you want to add assets, add more social posts, add more landing pages, emails, you can use AI prompts within that. When you do that, you create a campaign brief, and of course, it's AI walks you through creating that, so it's very easy. And all the things it creates for you will be according to that brief for your campaign, as well as all the brand style guidelines that you already have in your kind of account-wide AI settings. Gives you a nice visual canvas of of all of the pieces in your campaign, so you can actually get a visual of, okay, here are the emails, here are the social posts, here's the landing page, here's the form. You can see all of that in once. You can create those assets, you can comment and collaborate on those assets. In addition to the visual canvas builder, you also get a report view. So if you want to use this to kind of a board view. So if you want to use this to kind of manage that work, see what's in draft status, what's been published, what's scheduled to publish, you can just quick toggle over into your board view. All the reporting and things like that is the same. It's just a nice way to improve how quickly and efficiently you can build those campaigns, collaborate on those campaigns, and use AI to help you out in several steps of the process. We also have the ability to match social profiles to existing CRM contacts. So a while back, HubSpot rolled out if somebody commented on a post or messaged you, you could create a new contact in your CRM from that. There's no way to tie that to an existing contact. Now you can. So if somebody's managing your social inbox in HubSpot, for every comment, message, those types of interactions, there'll be an option to associate that to an existing contact. Once you have a record matched to their social profile, all future interactions will show up in HubSpot in the timeline record and will be usable in workflows, segments, and lead scoring. So that will allow you, once you have those contacts matched, that is a manual process. So it is going to be best for companies that have somebody that are watching their social inbox and taking that action. But here's why you'd want somebody to do that. So you can increase lead score for social interactions. You can notify sales reps when folks that they've opened deals with are interacting on social media. You can trigger a re-engagement nurture for stale contacts that happen to kind of resurface and engage with you on social media. Use segments, so lists, to target people who have interacted on social with additional social ads. So these people have interacted with us on LinkedIn. I'm going to create a segment for them. And I'm going to use that segment to target LinkedIn ads at them, for example. And use segments to drive reporting on performance of social engagement campaigns within specific target profiles. So we've got this segment of our audience. How well did we penetrate them on social media? How well did we get them to engage with us? This one is a private beta that I haven't been able to get into yet, so I don't have a visual for you, but I'm very excited to see how this rolls out. HubSpot's going to give us new ways to report on email deliverability for our marketing emails. So it's going to tell us overall delivery performance, trends over time for delivery rates, hard bounces and soft bounces, performance by email provider, and performance by list. So do we have certain lists that are performing better? Are we looking better in Gmail than Outlook in terms of our deliverability? So really excited to see like what this looks like and whether it's truly new data or whether it's just the same data and nicer reports. But email deliverability is a huge concern for a lot of folks right now, especially as SEO is going away and things like that. So penetrating via emails is hugely important, and really excited for HubSpot to give us some new tools there. Another AI tool, so we can now create full marketing emails based on any custom template we have with AI. We give it a prompt, we provide it any additional resources that we want, like a link to the landing page we're promoting, for example. And it's going to create the subject line for us, the preview text, the body copy, and any image suggestions. Of course, we can tailor it from there. So use this as a quick way to create your first draft, tailor it, and then deploy it. And if you don't want AI to create your whole email, or if you don't want the same email to go to all of your people, this is also going to be huge. It's very early days, but I think a year from now, 2 years from now, a lot of people are going to be using this. And this is a way to, within an individual email, customize a piece of content, so like smart content, for each individual contact you have. So rather than saying, people in this industry get this content and this industry get this content, every single person gets a tailored message in that part of the email based on a prompt that you provide. So you provide a prompt, you can do a lot of testing for different contacts, and when that email goes to send, it will create that essentially that snippet of text and put it in the email at the time it's sent. So it's always going to be using the most up-to-date property information and things like that. So a nice way to tailor your value proposition or your call to action or any piece of the email that you want to make sure that that's really personalized for them beyond just personalization tokens. I think we have two or three more updates, and then we will open it up for questions. So Service Hub, not a ton of announcements in Service Hub. A lot of the multi-hub and full hub announcements will apply to Service Hub. But the only Service Hub specific update that I wanted to call out is a pretty big one. If you have been not moving to Service Hub because you're using Zendesk and you don't want to go through the pain of migration, I understand that. I will say Service Hub, especially if you're using HubSpot for other tools, is just as good as Zendesk and better in some ways because you're using HubSpot for your CRM. But basically, HubSpot has made it much easier for you to move from Zendesk to HubSpot. And the way they've done that is in the past, when you migrated tickets, it was very difficult to get the historical activities, the historical conversations you had with your customers into HubSpot and out of Zendesk. Now it's just as easy as doing the native integration. No additional tools needed, no API stuff needed. HubSpot pulls over the tickets and then it goes fetches all of those conversations that you had. So you don't have to worry about missing any context from historical tickets if you move things over. We've just done this migration for a customer, and it's going really, really well. Data Hub, which used to be called Operations Hub. So if you've seen Data Hub in a couple places, I should have called that at the beginning. Sorry about that. Operations Hub is now called Data Hub. I do think it's a much more applicable name. Same pricing, all that stuff, just a different name. So the big thing with Data Hub is Data Studio. This one is really, really technical. Not really technical, but if you're a small business customer and most of your data is on HubSpot, it's not going to apply to you. But if you've got data in other places, product usage data, things like that, and spreadsheets and Snowflake, and there's all kinds of sources of data it can connect to. Essentially, Hub's Data Studio allows you to pull that data into a data set and use that data across your CRM. You can populate properties, you can do reporting, workflows, personalization tokens, and emails. You can also use it and your HubSpot data to do calculated properties. You can use AI prompts to look at those data sources and your HubSpot data sources to populate a column. So a ton of things you can do in Data Studio to connect your data. So you can do things like build segments or lists based on product usage, trigger engagement workflows for accounts that haven't logged in recently to if you've got like a SaaS platform, and enrich a contact or company record with calculated product engagement score based on all kinds of different product inputs in a database of product usage. Report on external data in HubSpot. So if you got data live somewhere else, we want to see the reports on HubSpot. You can do that. Tier customers based on external loyalty data. Align sales performance with an external record of regional sales quotas, and analyze and act on survey responses. So if you got your survey responses in like a Google Sheet or something like that, you maybe aren't using HubSpot's feedback surveys, you can still use that data. Last update in our Commerce Hub is HubSpot CPQ. Brand new quoting experience, much, much better quoting experience. So building quotes is much more straightforward. You have a lot more options to customize one quote, a quote to one customer versus another customer. It used to be if you wanted to like have custom content in a quote, you'd have to go update the template, or you'd have to have a pretty complex template that use like a bunch of personalization tokens. Now it's much, much easier. You just have a drag and drop builder for each individual quote. Of course, you start with a template. You can use AI generated cover letters that of course you can customize before it gets sent. And then there is some additional kind of behind the scenes things. So better approval workflows. So advanced approval workflows are available at enterprise. There's some basic approval workflows based on professional. And there's also tiered pricing that you can have for your product. So if they've got if they've got X amount of users, the price is Y. If they've got Z amount of users, the price is some other letter W. So you can change that. The downside to HubSpot CPQ is it does come with a cost. So quoting used to be included in Sales Hub Professional and Enterprise. If you have access to what HubSpot now calls legacy quotes, that's not going away. At least there's no sunset date announced. This is a net new tool. It is very early days. So if you have legacy quoting, unless you are kind of running up against, I want to customize these quotes for other people, I want tiered pricing, I would say probably don't upgrade yet. If you do want those advanced features, or if you're looking to do quoting in HubSpot for the first time, HubSpot CPQ is definitely something that you should look into. All right. We got a lot of people that hung around all the way through the end, and 6 minutes over. So let's open it up for questions and see what we can answer for you.